I feel like I'm kind of on a roll right now with these videos, and I just have to hope that like I continue to have a grounded perspective, because there's a lot of feelings, there's a lot of emotions involved with what I'm saying. But I was having coffee in the shelter because they have a moment where there's like coffee in the morning, and I don't like, it's just something that has taken me a lot to like really deal with or really accept. Like the way that people respond to my energy, the way that people, you know what I mean? Like when I walk into a room, when I walk into like an environment, like I don't mean to sound cocky, I don't mean to put myself on a pedestal, but the atmosphere shifts. Like, I bring a different energy into the room, and sometimes it's really interesting watching how people react to that or try not to react to that, because that's sometimes the case. Sometimes people will purposely try not to react or have a reaction. There's this one guy who's been staring me down, and I think it's because he thinks that I'm attractive. I don't know, I'm not assuming anything. Maybe he wants to fight me, but I mean, he's been friendly towards me, so I don't think he wants to fight me. But like, he's been staring me down. Like, I've never been one to flirt openly. I've never been one to just, make eyes with somebody. But I feel like that's what's been going on. And I don't know how to respond to that, because once again, that's not who I naturally am. I feel like a lot of people assume that I'm flirting with them because I'm naturally very flirtatious. I'm naturally very joking, naturally very like, I just have that energy about me. And so I think sometimes a lot of people assume that I'm flirting with them, and it's like, bro, I'm not flirting with you. This is just how I am. This is who I am. I'm sorry. I remember I used to have the theory, I still think this, but I used to think, I don't know why I'm saying it like that. I think / used to think, however, whatever. That a lot of the times when I'm feeling attracted to somebody, it's really just me being psychic and picking up on the fact that they're attracted to me, and because my energy craves balance, it's like, if you're attracted to me, I guess I'm attracted to you, I guess. Because sometimes I really take a moment to stop and think about who I'm attracted to, and I'm like, why the fuck do I think that you're attractive? You're disgusting. You're like, you know what I mean? In whatever way it is, and no judgment, whatever, but you know what I mean? Like, from my standards, you're disgusting. So like, why am I attracted to you? But yeah, that's definitely something that I've been having to deal with and has been very frustrating for me. And wait, why is that the direction I went? I guess because everything's frustrating, I guess. I don't know. I paused, I walked by somebody, so I wasn't like actively tuned into what I was saying anymore. I was talking about that guy that I think is attracted to me, because I had a moment in the coffee room where I had to squeeze between him and somebody else, another guy that I actually find attractive, who really just showed up. He really just showed up today. And I can understand objectively why I would find him attractive. He's slim, he has a nice build, like he I don't know, he looks juicy. The other guy looks juicy in a different way. That's not a fat joke, but maybe that's a fat joke. I don't know. I definitely believe that you can be fat and attractive. My first boyfriend was pretty fat, and I thought he was the bee's knees, so let's not do that. Let's not go in that direction. But yeah, like, I don't know, part of me, there is frustration, I guess, with this. Are you gonna let me go? Or you want me? There is frustration with like being attracted to men sometimes, because a lot of the men that I'm attracted to are very close-minded, are very like, and it's not to say that I'm sent into their lives to open their hearts or whatever, but to some degree that's kind of how it feels. It's kind of what it seems like. And like, you can only do so much for somebody if they're unwilling to do it for themselves, And so, since I'm not in the desire of forcing somebody to change, forcing somebody to grow up, like, a lot of times it just causes friction. It just causes for issue, because it's like, you don't want to change. You don't want to do what you need to do. I don't feel like forcing you. So where do we go from here? I don't know, where do we go from here? You know? I don't know. I don't think we can. I don't think we can. I don't think it's possible. I don't think it makes sense. And because I also don't really care for like a surface level situation or whatever, like a situationship, whatever people say, like that's off the table. That's not something I'm thinking about anymore. I used to be obsessed with that sort of energy. I used to love having hookups and stuff, but that's just not my energy anymore, you know? It just doesn't make sense for the life that I'm trying to have, you know? And I already have people in my life that are like counterproductive to this, so, you know, I don't need anybody else. I don't need to go seeking out anybody who is like going to further pull me away from what I need to be doing. You know what I mean? Like that just doesn't make sense. Also, I'm not sure in what order I'll post these videos, but in one of the previous videos I recorded, I did say that I was going to contact the counseling agency and request a new counselor. And I did do that. I couldn't call them directly. Maybe I just have to look for a number. I don't know. But I had to send a message. I had to give them my email and my number. So hopefully they'll get back to me soon. Hopefully the counselor gets back to me soon. I don't know. Because once again, from my perspective, it seems deliberate. It seems like he's deliberately ignoring me. The last time he texted me was yesterday afternoon, way before the work day was over. So like that's not really an excuse to be like, oh well, it was the end of the, no, it was like maybe 2 p.m. 3 p.m. I don't remember in this moment, but it was pretty early in the day still, you know, where I was. And also he had texted me beforehand, so it was like, unless you just magically got into a car accident or something crazy happened within like 60 seconds of you responding, like, I don't know, you know, it just seems purposeful to me. Like, I'm gonna tell you exactly what was sent, just so, like, you know what I mean, just so you could have context. So basically he had told me in person, he was like, you know, let me know when you get to your parents' house or whatever. Obviously being a monitoring spirit, that's obviously what that was. But like, and so he had dropped me off at the park. And this is how you know that these people are evil, because it's like, I'm telling you that I don't enjoy being at my mother's house. I don't enjoy being at that place. And instead of encouraging me to get out of that environment or like to do anything else, you know what I mean? You're like, you're wanting me to give you updates on when I get there and if I'm there or not. And it's just like, you're weird. That's weird. Like, that's not something that you do with somebody that you care about or want the best for. Like, that's weird. Like, I'm telling you that it's actively unproductive for my nervous system, unproductive for my growth. And you're so adamant on me going back there. It's fucking weird. You're fucking bad at your job, and you should honestly go to hell. Like, what the fuck? I'm sorry, I went off on a tangent. I was supposed to be telling you what was said. I told him, I was like, yeah, I just got back to my mom's house, and thanks for meeting up today. That's all I said. And he was like, okay, no problem. Okay, as in okay, like the letters okay, not even the whole word. And that's, maybe it's a tiny thing, but that's one thing that I always clock. Whether or not somebody says okay or okay as in the full word, like clock it. But yeah, he said okay, no problem. And then not even like, I don't know the time span exactly. Maybe it was a minute after, but I think literally less than 60 seconds after, I was like, okay, also let me know when or if you find me an employment gig. He didn't open the message. He didn't respond to the message. Once again, this was maybe like 2 p.m., 3 p.m., 4 p.m. maybe at the latest. And he didn't respond. Didn't even open the message. And then later on, like a few minutes later, because I tried to log into Indeed so I could apply for jobs. It wouldn't let me log into my computer for some reason. So I told him that. I was like, yeah, I tried to log into Indeed. It wouldn't let me he still didn't open the message. Last thing I said to him for the night, have a good evening. No, that's not that. I said, well, I guess we'll talk later. Have a good evening. Let me know when you find me an employment gig. Still did not open the fucking message. Clock it. Clock it. Clock it, bitch. Like, whether or not he's gonna admit it, because he probably won't. I doubt anybody would ever admit to like purposely being negligent, you know, but he didn't message you back. And then so morning rolls around. I'm naturally an early bird, and specifically this morning I'm really full of energy. I had to take a shit, so that was something. TMI, I'm sorry, but I had to take a shit, so I took a shit. And like, I was meditating, I was thinking, I was really just venting to myself because I couldn't leave the building and until 6 a.m. And so I was just kind of like talking with myself and being with myself. And I don't know, somewhere throughout all this process, I thought to message him and to text him, and I was like, good morning, I don't care if it's too early. Like I told you, I'm very ambitious and I'm an early bird, so yeah. And I was like, yeah, I took some time to think about it, and I just don't think that this is going to work. I think that the comment you made about me being on the road to prison was quite distasteful and, you know, atrocious for a mental health professional to say. And regardless of how you feel about it, I think it's quite disgusting. You know, I'm not quoting verbatim, but these are basically the words that I used. And I kept going, because once again, like, this is how I get. Like, I feel like this is also why I don't get into crazy relationships. Why I don't, you know, because I get crazy. You know what I mean? Like, and obviously this isn't a romantic situation, but I get crazy when I feel like I'm triggered, when I feel like I'm, you know what I mean? And I told him that to his face. I told him that over the phone. Like, you don't poke the bear and try to control how the bear reacts. Like, that's stupid. You know? Since you want to talk about respecting females, how about you respect Mother Nature and understand, like, you don't get to control how somebody else reacts to your disrespect. You know? Period. Clock it. Also, I do have to go back to the chapel at some point. I don't know what time it is. But I have to go back to the chapel at some point. So I'm gonna wrap this up soon. But yeah, I basically sent a string of messages being like, you know, I just think that you showed me very clearly that we are not in alignment, and it would be best if I could get a new counselor. So please, when you see this, like, let me know that you saw this. Let me know, you know, that you're going to make the move to get me a new counselor. And I said, please don't ignore me when you see this. And like, I imagine somebody who was purposely trying to ignore me would probably ignore me harder after that. But it's like, really, bro? And I even said, because once again, it was a string of messages, because I'm like, I'm in that energy. I'm expressing how I feel. And so I was like, as I went on, I was like, you know, I try to respect other people's time. So once again, if you could let me know, if you could call me when you see this, that would be very appreciated. This is exactly why I blew up at my last counselor, because I don't feel like she was respecting my time. And that wasn't necessary to say, but you know what I mean? It's like, if I were to blow up at you, it's because you're not responding to my texts. Like, you know? And I don't know, shout out to the link below. I'm gonna put, I'll always put, like, all of my videos, there's a link below with like different stuff that I've made. And I do have an audiobook, and not an audiobook. I do have an ebook and a regular book that you can purchase, that you can check out. And the reason why I bring that up, self-promo, is because I told him I'm an author. And I don't know, I feel like as a person who is supposed to be on your team, as somebody who's supposed to be dedicated to like meeting your needs and making sure that you are Gucci, if, like, assuming that I was in that position, if somebody were to tell me that they were an author, I would think, let me inquire. Let me ask what you write about. Let me see where you are. But once again, there was that disconnect, you know, because he does whatever he does in his spare time. And I don't know, I feel like he wants to believe that he's better than me because he has 2 master's degrees or whatever the fuck. Like, because he even said that at some point, like, because he slipped up on his words, and I noticed that. He said, because he was trying to get a point through to me, and he was like, you know, I'm no different than you, I'm no less than you. And what he meant to say was that I'm no better than you. But I clocked that, and I was like, what? Freudian slip tells me all I need to know. I'm no less than you. Okay. 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 like just says okay for an infinity amount of times. Okay, like because I made that abundantly clear too. I was like, you can have your beliefs. I'm not saying that your beliefs are wrong, but I know what I know. I know the energy that I tune into. I know what truth is. You know what I mean? Like, so once again, when you're trying to project your beliefs onto me, and I'm trying to like stop it, like, and you're like still trying to, I think that's really, really negligent, really, really damaging, really irresponsible. You know, because once again, you can have your beliefs, but you're supposed to be helping me. It's not about your ego. Once again, because he made that point. He was like, I'm going to help you, and he said our names. He was like, I'm going to help your name. And I was like, okay, well, Tariq needs help regardless of who helps him. So once again, I need you to like try to put your ego aside, because I need the help regardless of who helps me. So regardless of whether it's you or somebody else, like, I need the help, you know, because like, I don't need your ego being all destructive, and you know, because, and when you really think about it, like, I'm sorry, I have to end this. I was gonna say the ego is destructive, but like, maybe that's another video. I don't know. If you're watching this, if you want to hear me talk more about that and how like males and like the male ego is destructive, let me know. Comment down below and I'll make a video about that. But also, just for a little bit of over context, it is November. It is early November as I'm recording. It is November 5th, I believe. And by the time this gets posted, it'll probably be January. So hopefully everything that I'm saying is obsolete. Hopefully I have a new counselor by then. I fucking hope so. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm gonna end this here and transition. Have a nice one. Bye.